Hello Geeks and Gamers, Matt Lemke here with your gamer goggles, gamer-goggles.com. And today we are going to do a flip through of Dungeons & Dragons Princes of Apocalypse. This is part of the Elemental Evil line. Since this is an adventure path, I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet. The first chapter is the chapter where we're probably going to do a lot of time talking. And that's because it has things like how to use this book, and basically it tells you that it's geared for characters of at least 3rd level, and that if you have characters under that you should take a look at Chapter 6 for starting them off. It also has the adventure background. It has a full overview of all the different cults of the Elemental Evil, which is the Cult of Black Earth, the Cult of the Crushing Wave, Cult of the Eternal Flame, Cult of the Howling Hatred, which is air, since I didn't tell you what they all were. Their symbols, a lot of art in the book, but not so much art that it detracts from the story and the content of the book. And like I said, the first chapter is really primarily preparing you as the GM for telling your story and figuring out how you want this story to unfold and giving you the tools that you need. It even has a small section on using the side treks in Chapter 6. So there's really a lot of width and broadness to what you can do with this campaign. Chapter 2 sets you and your players up for the Desolate Valley, which is where this story takes place. The Elemental Evil is there. There are nodes for the different elements, and there's a certain amount of danger that's being involved with their use or with their release of energy. Again, I'm being vague because I don't want to spoil it for you. It has history, current events. It goes through important NPCs. It goes through different places in towns, sinkhole, different locations that are important to the storyline. And that's pretty much what Chapter 2 is about. It even includes wandering monster tables in Chapter 2. It has a very detailed map, which I'm very fond of the maps in this book. I think one of the things that's improved since earlier editions is the art involved in maps. In maps. I think that it's a very important part of the game. Anytime you can have good visual aids. And then Chapter 3 is where the adventure starts for your 3rd level characters. Did I pass it already? I did pass it. And I'm going to go ahead and read the first part of Chapter 3, because it really gives you an idea of what the whole adventure is going to be like. And here we go. The adventure starts in Red Lark, with the characters investigating the disappearance of a delegation from Mirabar. Characters are free to go wherever their information, as provided by the GM or you, takes them. Clues lead them to haunted keeps in the Umber Hills. These old fortresses have become secret outposts for the cults of Elemental Evil. And then it goes on to start the storyline of path and clues of the missing delegation, and it's up to you as the GM to guide them with the clues that they need, which is one of the things that actually makes this really well, or really good in my opinion. Here's another great map, but I really can't talk too much about the middle chapters of this book, because if I do, I'm going to give away vital information that might ruin it for you. So we're going to jump ahead to Chapter 6, because Chapter 6 is something that I haven't seen too much in adventure paths like this. And here's one of the maps of one of the temples. This is the Temple of Black Earth. Let's switch that up there like that a little bit for you. And that is in later chapters. You'll be up there. Here's the Temple of the Elemental Flame. And then there is Chapter 5, which is the final chapter of the book. Here's the Howling Caves and the Plunging Torrents, another cool map. And Chapter 6 is Alarms and Excursions, which this is where you'll start with your 1st level characters and 2nd level characters. If you're bringing them into this adventure world. What's unique about this to me is they designed the book for characters to start at 3rd level, but they gave you a way to start sooner if you would like to, or just start off with this adventure path. And probably the first half of this chapter is geared towards 1st and 2nd level characters, and then as you start moving out into the later half of the chapter, it is chatter because it is clues and things, and it's based off of side quests, so it is chatter. But the later part of the chapter is when you get into side quests for higher level adventurers, and they're not super big. A lot of them, like you can see this map. It's not much of a map. It's a barrow mound, and it's it's maybe 100 feet long. So it's not very big. It looks like a little cross, probably a holy place. I don't remember reading about it. And then you have this one that kind of looks like a ram's head, and it's a shrine. Then you've got some little city adventures, and then you move into chapter 7, which chapter 7 is where a lot of the nitty-gritty kind of information is available for the GM. And again, we're not going to spoil too much of this, but one of the important things to note is they have a list of monsters that are in the book with a challenge rating, and they start at 1/8 and go all the way up to 20. And so you can see that this is a very long adventure span, a long adventure path that you and your players can play. You can play this adventure more than once. You can die and start over and come up with a different conclusion. It's very interesting the way things can unfold here. They introduce things like the Feathergale Knight in with the monsters, which they're not really monsters, they're humans, but they might as well be evil NPCs for the sake of the storyline. They have the Howling Hatred Priests that they introduce. They have my favorite picture in the book, largely because she looks like an elf that says, "I'm not the frolicking elf that you would normally think of. I'm going to rip your heart out and eat it," kind of elf. So, with that said, we're going to move on. Here's a great picture that dictates some of the thematic stuff behind the storyline here and the power of magic involved in the elemental evil. Here is the Black Earth Guard, knight type dude who clearly looks like he's wearing some kind of earthy plate mail. And then you've got a guy riding a bullet, or bullet, depending on who you are. Many arguments have been fought around that. And you've got, lots of pictures to sum it up and back it up. Here you go. You have a crushing wave cultists. Well, I should say Reaver, probably. That is probably the Reaver or the Dark Type Knight, riding what looks like a shark, a very large shark. And then the next chapter, 8, is one of the other chapters that is, it's still in chapter 7, but it's magic items. There are some cool magic items in here. In fact, one of the things it includes, one of my favorite or most items that I find unique in this book is the Weird Tank, which is not really anything super new, but I like the art and the effect it lends to a steampunky atmosphere. Basically, what the Weird Tank does is it carries a water weird in it, and you can call it and command it. One of the other cool magic items that I like are the Claws of the Umber Hulk, which is a wondrous item that is rare and requires attunement, but basically you gain burrowing speed of 20, and you can move through or tunnel through solid rock at a rate of 1 foot per round. So it it adds to damage. It gives your hand-to-hand combat damage a D8 for slashing. But one of the cooler and more unique things that is great for this book is they have the different elemental items from the different cults. They have Tinderstrike, Windvane, Iron Fang, Drown, and these are all, I would say they're pretty powerful because they're all legendary items and they all require attunement, and they all do a series of unique things that really gives them a lot of flavor within the story. And then they have added a new race for players to play in this book, and that is the Genasi. And basically the Genasi are heirs of elemental power. Think of them as half elemental, half human, half Jinn of an element, half human maybe. And what they did different, at least from what I can remember about Genasi and some of the earlier editions of Dungeons and Dragons, is they've taken all 4 races, they've given them a base ability score increase on their constitution, and then they've given them, based off the element they represent, a different ability increase for their secondary ability score, and they've given them a small handful of abilities. For example, the air Genazis get +1 to dexterity, and then they have unending breath and mingle with the wind, which allows them to levitate. Earth gives you earth walk, merge with stone, and increases your strength by 1. Your intelligence score for fire Genazis, dark vision, fire resistance, and reach to the blaze. And then you have the water Genasi, which their ability score is wisdom. They have acid resistance, they're amphibious. They have swim, and they have call to the wave. So, and then they have different backgrounds for you to take into account based off of which race you've chosen. And then of course there's spells, and some of these spells are really ridiculously cool, and as you can imagine, they mostly relate to the different elements. For example, Dust Devil, choose an unoccupied 5-foot cube and of air, and you can see within range an elemental force that resembles a Dust Devil appears in the cube and lasts for the spell's duration. There's some other abilities that go with that, but there's also Earthbind, there's Control Winds, Control Flames, which there's a good picture of controlling the flames. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Now there is for those of you that are fans of the Dungeons and Dragons art, here is some great art that reflects the flavor of this book very well, and especially the different cults. And it gets back to that 3.5 feel of the black and white stuff that's going on in the minds of the artist, or in the minds of the weapon. It gives you that architectural style look, and then brings forward that forefront of what it really is to become, in this case, a water cultist. So, the Princes of the Apocalypse is, in my opinion, a really good adventure path, because it gives the GM both the freedom to direct his players or her players in the storyline that they are determining, and it also yields the path or the ability for the DM to direct that right into the hands of the adventurers. It's not a strict, rigid ABC kind of adventure path. There is a certain amount of flexibility that lends to more storytelling than what an ABCD type of adventure would have. I would not necessarily suggest this as maybe your first adventure, because of the way it's laid out. But if you've already played in the introductory, if you've already played the Dungeons and Dragons Hordes of the Dragon Queen Adventure series, then you won't have any problem using this. I am a fan of Princes of Apocalypse, I think more so than I am The Rise of Tiamat and Hordes of Dragon Queen, largely because Temple of Elemental Evil was probably one of the first adventures I attempted and lost at miserably many, many times. Thanks for watching. This has been a flip through with Matt Lemke from Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. And please subscribe to us. Check out our blog. We're going to be unleashing the Road to Gen Con very soon, which is going to be a living document detailing press releases and special events and promos that are going to be happening at Gen Con 2015. So check it out. Subscribe to the email we're going to have up there. I hope to have that page developed in full by April 14th. Well, let's just say April 15th for the ease. Thanks for watching again, and have a good day.